First contact and diplomatic mission. The sleek shape of the Earth's flagship, the ESS Horizon, glided through the star-speckled void of space. On its bridge, Jake Foster stood with his hands clasped behind his back, green eyes fixed on the approaching alien world. Xerax Prime loomed large in the viewscreen, a swirling mass of purple and blue, unlike anything in Earth's solar system. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of humanity's future pressing down on his shoulders. As Earth's top diplomat, he had been chosen to represent humanity in this crucial first meeting with the Xeraxian Empire. The fate of potential alliances, trade agreements, and humanity's place in the galactic community hung in the balance. "Entering orbit, sir," announced the ship's pilot, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. Jake nodded, smoothing down his meticulously pressed uniform. "Very good. Prepare the shuttle. It's time we introduce ourselves to our galactic neighbors." As the shuttle descended through Xerax Prime's atmosphere, Jake rehearsed his carefully prepared greeting in his head. Years of linguistic study had gone into deciphering the Xeraxian language from intercepted transmissions. Now, it was time to put that knowledge to the test. The shuttle touched down on a massive landing pad outside the Xeraxian capital city. As the door hissed open, Jake stepped out into an alien world. The air was thicker than Earth's, with a slight metallic tang. Towering spires of crystal and metal stretched into the violet sky, their architecture defying human understanding of physics. A delegation of Xeraxians awaited them. Jake's eyes widened as he took in their appearance. The aliens stood nearly 9 feet tall, their bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with each movement. Multiple arms extended from their torsos, ending in delicate, multi-jointed fingers. Their faces were a mesmerizing blend of avian and reptilian features, with large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to see in every direction at once. Jake stepped forward, raising his hand in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Greetings, noble Xeraxians. I am Jake Foster, representative of the planet Earth and the human race. We come in peace and friendship, hoping to forge bonds of understanding between our peoples." The lead Xeraxian, adorned in elaborate robes that shimmered with an inner light, tilted its head. A moment of tense silence passed before it spoke, its voice a melodic trill that seemed to resonate in Jake's very bones. "Welcome, Jake Foster of Earth. I am High Counselor Zixara. Your arrival has been much anticipated. Come, let us speak of the future that lies before us." As Jake followed the Xeraxian delegation into the heart of their gleaming city, he couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and trepidation. The technological marvels that surrounded him made Earth's most advanced cities seem primitive by comparison. Vehicles that seemed to defy gravity zipped between buildings, while holographic displays flickered with information in the strange, flowing script of the Xeraxian language. In the days that followed, Jake found himself navigating a complex web of alien politics and cultural nuances. The Xeraxians, he discovered, placed great importance on physical beauty and symmetry. Their society was highly stratified, with those deemed most aesthetically pleasing occupying the highest ranks of power and influence. This fixation on appearance posed unexpected challenges for the human diplomat. While the Xeraxians seemed fascinated by humans, they also viewed them as somewhat primitive and, by their standards, rather ugly. Jake often caught whispers and sideways glances from Xeraxian officials, their scales rippling with colors that he came to recognize as disgust or amusement. Despite these obstacles, Jake pressed on with negotiations. He spoke passionately of the potential benefits of an alliance between Earth and Xerax Prime. He highlighted humanity's resilience, creativity, and adaptability, traits that had allowed them to overcome great challenges and reach for the stars. Our differences in appearance and culture should not be barriers, Jake argued during a particularly tense meeting with the Xeraxian High Council. Instead, they should be celebrated as opportunities for growth and mutual understanding. Imagine the advancements we could achieve by combining our unique perspectives and strengths. High Counselor Zixara listened intently, its multifaceted eyes unreadable. Your words are compelling, Jake Foster. Yet, we must consider the impact of such an alliance on our standing in the greater galactic community. The Xeraxian Empire has long been respected for its adherence to the highest standards of cultural and physical refinement. Jake felt a flicker of frustration, but kept his voice calm and measured. With all due respect, High Counselor, true refinement comes not from outward appearance, but from the strength of one's character and the depth of one's wisdom. Humanity may be young in the cosmic scale, but we have much to offer. Our diversity is our greatest strength. As the days turned into weeks, Jake found himself making slow but steady progress. Some members of the Xeraxian government began to see past their initial prejudices, recognizing the potential benefits of an alliance with Earth. Others remained skeptical, clinging to their deeply ingrained beliefs about superiority and beauty. One evening, as Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering expanse of the Xeraxian capital, he was approached by a figure he hadn't seen before. She was clearly Xeraxian, but unlike any he had encountered so far. Her scales were a muted gray, lacking the vibrant iridescence of her peers. Her features, while still alien to human eyes, seemed softer, less angular than the Xeraxian ideal. "Greetings, Jake Foster of Earth," she said, her voice a gentler trill than he was accustomed to hearing. "I am Princess Sphara, daughter of Emperor Zorax. I have been observing your efforts with great interest." Jake bowed slightly, recalling the proper etiquette for addressing Xeraxian royalty. "It's an honor to meet you, Princess Sphara. I hope my efforts have not been found wanting." Zara's scales rippled with a color Jake hadn't seen before, a soft, warm glow that seemed to indicate genuine interest. "On the contrary, I find your persistence and passion admirable. You speak of ideas that many here have long forgotten or chosen to ignore. It is refreshing." As they talked, Jake found himself drawn to Xara's keen intellect and insightful observations. She spoke of her own struggles within Xeraxian society, of being deemed unconventional in appearance, and therefore often overlooked or dismissed. "Your words about the value of diversity and inner strength resonate deeply with me," Zara admitted. "I have long believed that our empire's obsession with physical perfection has blinded us to other forms of beauty and worth." As the twin moons of Xerax Prime rose in the violet sky, casting an ethereal glow over the city, Jake felt a spark of hope. In Princess Sphara, he had found an unexpected ally, someone who could see beyond the surface and recognize the true potential of an alliance between their peoples. Little did Jake know that this chance encounter would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge both human and Xeraxian society to their very cores. The diplomatic mission he had embarked upon was about to take a turn that no one could have predicted, one that would test the limits of understanding, compassion, and the very definition of humanity itself. As Jake bid goodnight to Princess Sphara and retired to his quarters, his mind raced with new possibilities. He had come to Xerax Prime to forge an alliance between worlds, but he was beginning to realize that the path to true understanding might be far more personal and far more revolutionary than he had ever imagined. The first phase of humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage was drawing to a close. But for Jake Foster, Princess Sphara, and the future of human-Xeraxian relations, the real journey was only just beginning. The unexpected proposal. The grand halls of the Xeraxian Imperial Palace echoed with whispers and sideways glances as Jake Foster made his way to the Emperor's private chambers. His heart raced, not just from the gravity of the diplomatic discussions ahead, but from thoughts of Princess Sphara. Their late-night conversations had become a beacon of hope in the increasingly tense negotiations. As the ornate doors swung open, Jake steeled himself. Emperor Zorax, a towering figure with scales that shimmered like living starlight, sat upon a crystalline throne. Beside him stood High Counselor Zixara, and to Jake's surprise, Princess Sphara. "Jake Foster of Earth," the Emperor's voice boomed, sending vibrations through the floor. "Your presence on our world has sparked much debate. Some see potential in an alliance with your species. Others," he paused, multifaceted eyes flickering. Others fear it would tarnish our galactic standing. Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the Emperor raised a hand, silencing him. However, a solution has presented itself, one that would bind our worlds irrevocably. Emperor Zorax's gaze shifted to his daughter. A union between our houses. The implications hit Jake like a plasma blast. Marriage to Princess Skara. High Counselor Zixara stepped forward, scales rippling with barely concealed disdain. While unconventional, this match would satisfy those who doubt the sincerity of Earth's commitment to our empire. Jake's mind reeled. This was far beyond his diplomatic training. He glanced at Xara, whose muted grayscales seemed to pulse with a soft, nervous light. I'm honored by the proposal, Jake managed, choosing his words carefully. But surely Princess Skara should have a say in this decision. The room fell silent, the concept of a royal's personal choice clearly foreign to Zoraxian culture. Emperor Zorax's eyes narrowed. My daughter understands her duty to the Empire. He paused, searching for a diplomatic word. Her unique appearance has made finding a suitable match challenging. This union would elevate her standing and cement our alliance. Jake felt a surge of protective anger. He'd seen how Xara was treated, dismissed for not fitting the Zoraxian ideal of beauty. But he'd also seen her brilliance, her compassion, her strength. With all due respect, Your Majesty, Jake said, straightening his back. Princess Skara's worth isn't determined by her appearance. On Earth, we value diversity, intelligence, and character. And in those qualities, Skara outshines any being I've met in this galaxy. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Jake had just committed a major breach of Zoraxian etiquette, speaking out of turn and challenging the Emperor's words. But he pressed on, turning to face Skara directly. Princess Skara, I won't pretend that I came here expecting this. But in our conversations, I've come to admire and respect you deeply. If you would consider this union, not out of duty, but out of mutual understanding and the hope of building something greater together, then I would be honored. The room erupted in chaos. High Counselor Zixara's scales flashed angry reds and oranges. Other officials shouted in disbelief, but Jake kept his eyes locked on Xara, whose scales had begun to glow with a warm, golden light he'd never seen before. Silence. Emperor Zorax's voice cut through the tumult. He studied Jake with newfound interest. You continue to surprise us, Jake Foster of Earth. Your species' disregard for proper protocol is matched only by your audacity. A hint of amusement crept into his voice. Perhaps that is exactly what this empire needs. Xara stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. Father, High Council, I accept this proposal. Not out of duty alone, but because I believe in the vision Jake speaks of. A future where our peoples learn from each other, where we grow beyond our preconceptions. The next few days passed in a blur of preparations and negotiations. News of the impending union spread like wildfire across Xerex Prime, and thanks to faster-than-light communications, to Earth as well. The reactions were as varied as they were intense. On Xerex Prime, many were scandalized. The idea of their princess marrying a primitive human was bad enough. That this human had openly challenged their beauty standards and social hierarchy was nothing short of revolutionary. Yet, a growing minority, particularly among the younger generations, found themselves intrigued by Jake's words and actions. Back on Earth, the response was equally divided. Some hailed Jake as a hero, securing humanity's place in the galactic community through this unprecedented alliance. Others accused him of overstepping his authority, entangling Earth in alien politics it wasn't prepared for. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, with some claiming Jake had been seduced by alien influences. Through it all, Jake and Xara found solace in each other's company. They spent long hours discussing their hopes and fears for the future, bridging the gap between their cultures one conversation at a time. I never imagined I'd be at the center of such a galactic controversy, Jake admitted one evening as they walked through the palace's bioluminescent gardens. Xara's scales shimmered with a mix of amusement and affection. Nor did I imagine I'd find a kindred spirit in a being from another world. Yet here we are, defying expectations at every turn. Jake smiled, marveling at how natural it felt to be in Xara's presence now. I meant what I said to your father. You're remarkable, Xara. Your mind, your spirit. I'm honored to stand beside you, whatever challenges we face. As the day of the ceremony approached, final preparations were made. The event would be broadcast across multiple star systems, a show of unity and a new era of interspecies cooperation. Or, as some feared, a spectacle that would change the course of galactic politics forever. The morning of the ceremony, Jake stood before a mirror, adjusting the formal attire that blended elements of human and Xaraxian design. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called, expecting another protocol officer with last-minute instructions. Instead, High Counselor Xara glided into the room, its scales a swirl of colors Jake couldn't quite interpret. "Jake Foster," Xara began, voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "I have opposed this union from the beginning. I believed it would weaken our empire, taint our bloodlines with inferior stock." Jake tensed, prepared for another confrontation, but Xara continued, surprising him. "However, I have watched you these past weeks. Your unwavering commitment to your principles, your willingness to challenge our deepest held beliefs, not with violence, but with words and actions. It is not the behavior of an inferior being." The High Counselor's scales settled into a deep, respectful blue. "I do not yet fully understand your kind, Jake Foster, but I begin to see that there is strength in your diversity, wisdom in your adaptability. Perhaps this union is what both our peoples need to grow beyond our limitations." Touched by this unexpected show of support, Jake extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. After a moment's hesitation, Xara reached out one of its many limbs, grasping Jake's hand in a grip that was surprisingly gentle. As High Counselor Xara left, Jake turned back to the mirror, a new sense of purpose filling him. This ceremony was more than a political alliance. It was the first step towards a truly united galaxy, one where differences were celebrated rather than feared. With a deep breath, Jake squared his shoulders and headed for the grand ceremonial chamber. Whatever the future held, he and Xara would face it together, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of hope for all species who dared to look beyond the surface and see the beauty in diversity. The galaxy watched with bated breath as human and Xaraxian prepared to be united. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge the very foundations of their societies and redefine the meaning of humanity in the cosmic scale, defying expectations. The grand ceremonial chamber of the Xaraxian Imperial Palace buzzed with an energy unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Delegates from a dozen star systems sat in uneasy proximity, their varied physiologies a testament to the diversity of life in the universe. At the center of it all stood Jake Foster and Princess Tara, their union about to shake the foundations of interstellar society. As the ancient Xaraxian bonding ritual began, a shimmering field of energy enveloped the couple. It was said to align their biohydrums, a process typically smooth between Xaraxians. But as human and alien physiology intertwined, the energy field pulsed and swirled in unexpected patterns. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the field turned a brilliant, never-before-seen gold. Emperor Zorax leaned forward on his crystalline throne, multifaceted eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," he breathed, voice carrying in the sudden silence. "The cosmic harmony, it accepts them." The implications rippled through the assembled dignitaries. The cosmic harmony, a mysterious force that Xaraxians believed guided the universe, had seemingly blessed this unprecedented union. As the field dissipated, Jake and Tara stood hand in hand, their eyes locked in a gaze of mutual wonder and determination. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of reactions, cheers, outrage, and everything in between. In the cycles that followed, Jake and Sarah found themselves at the heart of the galactic cultural revolution. Their every move was scrutinized, debated, and often imitated across star systems. Sarah, once overlooked in Xeraxian society, became a beacon of change. Her unconventional beauty, now paired with the confidence that came from true acceptance, challenged centuries of Xeraxian beauty standards. Young Xeraxians began to embrace their unique features, rebelling against the rigid norms that had long defined their culture. Jake, for his part, threw himself into the role of cultural ambassador with gusto. He organized interspecies cultural exchanges, sports tournaments, and arts festivals. His efforts gave rise to a new form of entertainment that swept the galaxy: xenonovelas, dramatic serials that explored the complexities of interspecies relationships. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Conservative factions on both Earth and Xerax Prime rallied against what they saw as a dilution of their species' purity. Protests erupted on colony worlds, and terrorist groups, with names like Humanity First and Scale Supremacy, launched attacks on symbols of interspecies cooperation. Through it all, Jake and Sarah stood strong, their bond deepening as they faced each challenge together. They became skilled at navigating the treacherous waters of interstellar politics, using their unique perspectives to bridge seemingly insurmountable divides. One standard galactic year after their union, as tensions reached a boiling point, Jake and Sarah made an announcement that would once again reshape the cosmic landscape. Standing before a holo-broadcast watched by trillions across the galaxy, Sarah's scales shimmered with a radiant glow as she spoke. "We are overjoyed to share that we are expecting a child." The news hit like a supernova. A human-Xeraxian hybrid, something many had deemed biologically impossible. Speculation ran rampant. Would the child have scales or skin? How many limbs? What kind of abilities might this unprecedented blend of DNA produce? As Sarah's pregnancy progressed, it became clear that this was no ordinary gestation. Her body underwent startling changes, her scales taking on new patterns and hues never before seen in Xeraxian physiology. Geneticists and xenobiologists flocked to the Imperial Palace, eager to study this miraculous occurrence. Their findings sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It appeared that human and Xeraxian DNA, when combined, unlocked dormant genetic potential in both species. Dr. Zillith, a renowned Xeraxian geneticist, attempted to explain the phenomenon in a galactic press conference. It's as if the genetic codes are engaging in a sort of cosmic dance, each adapting, evolving, creating something entirely new yet harmonious. The implications were staggering. Could this genetic compatibility extend to other species? Might it hold the key to curing diseases that had plagued various races for eons? The possibilities seemed endless. But as scientific excitement grew, so did fear and resentment among certain factions. Extremist groups saw the unborn child as a threat to the purity of both human and Xeraxian species. Threats poured in, and security around Jake and Sarah tightened to unprecedented levels. It was during this tense time that Jake received an urgent communication from Earth. A group of human scientists had been working in secret, inspired by his union with Sarah. They had made a breakthrough that could revolutionize interspecies relations forever. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead researcher, spoke in hushed, excited tones. "Jake, we've done it. We've created a universal translator implant, not just for language, but for thought patterns, emotional resonance, even pheromonal communication. With this, true understanding between species could finally be possible." The implications made Jake's head spin. Such a device could tear down the barriers that had long divided species, fostering empathy and connection on a level never before achieved. But as Jake well knew, not everyone would welcome such a paradigm shift. Implementing this technology would require careful planning and iron-willed determination. As Jake shared the news with Sarah, her scales rippled with a complex blend of emotions. "My love," she said, resting a hand on her swollen midsection, Our child will be born into a galaxy on the brink of profound change. We must ensure it's a change for the better." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. They had started this journey as reluctant diplomats, thrust into an arranged marriage. Now they stood as the potential architects of a new galactic order. As the twin suns of Xerax Prime set, casting the Imperial Palace in a ghostly purple glow, Jake and Sarah gazed out at the glittering expanse of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, their child's future was waiting to be shaped. "Whatever comes," Jake said, intertwining his fingers with Sarah's, "we face it together. For our child, for our peoples, for the future of all species." Sarah's scales shimmered with determination. "Together," she agreed. "We've already rewritten the stars once. Now, it's time to forge a new cosmic harmony." As night fell on Xerax Prime, the couple stood united, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might throw their way. The next phase of their journey was about to begin, one that would test the limits of love, challenge the boundaries of science, and potentially reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Little did they know, the greatest test of all was yet to come, one that would shake the foundations of the galaxy and force every sentient being to question the very nature of existence itself. Galactic Council Showdown. The vast amphitheater of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the tiered seats, their diverse physiologies a testament to the complex tapestry of life in the universe. At the center, Jake and Sarah stood hand in hand, facing the stern gazes of the council elders. High above, holographic displays showed the proceedings to trillions of beings across the galaxy. This was more than a trial, it was a referendum on the future of interspecies relations. Supreme Counselor Zix, a being of pure energy contained within a hovering crystalline structure, spoke first. Its voice resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into thousands of languages. "Jake Foster of Earth, Princess Skara of Xerax Prime, you stand before us accused of violating the ancient laws of species separation. Your union and the offspring it has produced represent an unprecedented threat to the cosmic order." Jake stepped forward, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "With all due respect, Supreme Counselor, we stand here not as a threat, but as a promise. A promise of a future where artificial boundaries between sentient beings no longer limit our potential for growth and understanding." Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Jake pressed on, his words carried to every corner of the known universe. "For too long, we've allowed fear of the unknown to dictate our interactions. But look around this very chamber. We are all different, yet we found ways to coexist, to cooperate. Our union, and yes, our child, simply take that cooperation to its logical next step." Sarah joined him, her scales shimmering with a mesmerizing array of colors that reflected her complex emotions. "We are not here to erase what makes each species unique. We're here to celebrate those differences, to learn from them, and to grow beyond the limitations we've imposed upon ourselves." As they spoke, a commotion erupted in the upper tiers of the amphitheater. A group of protesters unfurled a holographic banner that flickered with the words "Purity" or "Extinct-Titan" in a dozen languages. Security drones moved in swiftly, but the interruption had served its purpose, highlighting the deep divisions their case had created. Counselor Vexnar, a hulking insectoid being, chittered in agitation. "Pretty words, but they don't address a fundamental issue. If we allow such unions to proliferate, what becomes of our individual species? Of the cultures we spent millennia developing?" Jake nodded, acknowledging the concern. "Change can be frightening, Counselor, but stagnation is a far greater threat. Every species represented here evolved through adaptation, through embracing change." He gestured to the holographic displays showing scenes from across the galaxy, Xeraxian youth adopting human fashion, humans practicing Andromean meditation techniques, a dozen species competing together in zero-G sports leagues. This is already happening, whether we sanction it or not. Our peoples are reaching out to each other, curious, eager to learn and grow. We have a choice. We can fight this natural progression, or we can guide it, ensuring that as we come together, we don't lose what makes each of us special. As the debate raged on, tensions in the chamber reached a boiling point. Delegates shouted over each other, allegiances shifting moment by moment. It seemed that for every supporter Jake and Sarah won over, a new opponent emerged. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the complex. Supreme Counselor Zik's crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. We're under attack. Multiple breaches detected. Chaos erupted as security forces scrambled to respond. Through the confusion, a familiar face approached Jake and Sarah. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the human scientist behind the universal translator implant. Jake, Sarah, we have to move now, she urged, her eyes wild with a mix of fear and excitement. This attack, it's not what you think. It's a diversion. Before they could question her, the floor beneath them shimmered and dissolved. They found themselves falling through a hidden transport tube, emerging moments later in a secret chamber deep beneath the council complex. As Jake's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he gasped. The room was filled with beings of every conceivable shape and size, all wearing determined expressions. A tall, willowy being with bioluminescent tendrils stepped forward. Welcome, Jake and Sarah, to the true face of galactic unity. We are the Cosmic Concordance, and we've been waiting a long time for beings like you to emerge. Dr. Rodriguez explained quickly. This group has existed in secret for centuries, working towards the goal of true interspecies harmony. Your union, your child, they're the catalyst we've been waiting for. Jake's mind reeled, but the attack, the willowy being, who introduced itself as Exile, waved a tendril dismissively. A carefully orchestrated illusion. No one will be harmed, but it will keep the council distracted while we implement the next phase of our plan. Sarah's scales pulsed with a mix of curiosity and concern. What plan? Dr. Rodriguez held up a small device. The universal translator implant. We're going to broadcast its effects across the entire council chamber. Jake's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. You mean? Exile nodded, its tendrils glowing brightly. For the first time in galactic history, every being in that room will be able to truly understand each other. Not just words, but intentions, emotions, the very essence of their thoughts. But that's a massive violation of privacy, Jake protested, even as part of him thrilled at the possibility. Sarah squeezed his hand. Perhaps, but it might be the only way to break through millennia of prejudice and misunderstanding. As alarms continued to blare above them, Jake and Sarah faced a monumental decision. Did they have the right to force this level of intimacy on beings who hadn't consented? Could the end of universal understanding justify such means? Time was running out. Security forces would eventually realize the attack was a ruse. The fate of galactic society hung in the balance, and the choice rested in their hands. Jake took a deep breath, looking from Sarah to Dr. Rodriguez to the assembled members of the Cosmic Concordance. In that moment, he felt the weight of not just two worlds, but an entire galaxy on his shoulders. All right, he said finally, his voice steady with resolve. Let's rewrite the stars. As Dr. Rodriguez activated the device, a wave of invisible energy pulsed outward. In the council chamber above, the shouting and chaos suddenly ceased, replaced by a profound, stunned silence. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, every being could truly, deeply understand one another. Prejudices fell away, replaced by a flood of empathy and shared experience. The Galactic Council, and indeed the entire cosmos, would never be the same again. As the wave of understanding spread, Jake and Sarah knew their journey was far from over. In fact, the real adventure was just beginning. The galaxy held its breath, poised on the brink of a new era. An era born from the unlikely love between a human diplomat and an alien princess, nurtured by the hopes and dreams of countless beings across the stars. The cosmic dance had entered a new movement, and its melody would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. A new era begins. The aftermath of the Galactic Council incident, now known across the cosmos as the Great Awakening, sent shockwaves through every corner of known space. The sudden forced empathy had lasting effects far beyond what anyone, even the cosmic concordance, had anticipated. As the dust settled, Jake and Sarah found themselves at the center of a galactic revolution. No longer were they simply diplomats or even controversial figures. They had become living symbols of a new age of understanding. The first weeks following the incident were chaotic. Governments toppled, alliances shifted, and age-old conflicts suddenly seemed petty in the face of newfound understanding. But as the initial shock wore off, something remarkable began to emerge. A galactic society more united and empathetic than ever before. It was against this backdrop of monumental change that Sarah went into labor. The birthing chamber in the Imperial Palace of Xerax Prime was a flurry of activity. Doctors and scientists from a dozen species hovered anxiously, their instruments trained on Sarah as she prepared to bring a new life into the universe. Jake stood by her side, his hand clasped in hers, feeling every contraction through their deep bond. "You've got this, love," he murmured, his voice steady despite the nervous energy coursing through him. Sarah's scales rippled with pain and determination. "We've got this," she corrected, her eyes locked on his. As the labor progressed, something unexpected began to happen. The medical equipment started to malfunction, readings going haywire. A soft glow emanated from Zara's abdomen, growing brighter with each passing moment. Dr. Zillith, the lead xenobiologist, stared at her instruments in disbelief. "These energy readings, they're off the charts. It's as if the baby is tapping into some kind of cosmic force." The glow intensified, filling a room with a warm, pulsating light. Jake felt a tingling sensation spreading through his body, and he noticed the assembled medical team experiencing the same. It was as if they were all becoming connected, tuned into the same cosmic frequency. With a final powerful push, Sarah gave birth. The light reached a blinding crescendo, then suddenly winked out, leaving the room in stunned silence. And there, cradled in Sarah's arms, was their child. A perfect blend of human and Xeraxian features, with soft, iridescent scales and wide, curious eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the universe. "It's a girl," Jake breathed, his voice filled with awe. "Hello, little one. Welcome to the galaxy." As news of the birth spread, the already transformed galactic society found itself once again at a turning point. The child, named Nova by her parents, quickly became known as the Cosmic Child, a living bridge between species and a symbol of the new era. In the years that followed, Nova's unique abilities began to manifest. She possessed an innate ability to facilitate understanding between different species, even without the aid of technology. It was as if the universe itself spoke through her, breaking down barriers that had long divided sentient beings. Footage of Nova mediating disputes between warring factions or helping vastly different species collaborate on groundbreaking projects went viral across the galactic net. She became a beacon of hope, living proof that the differences between species could be a source of strength rather than conflict. But with Nova's growing influence came new challenges. Some saw her as a messiah figure, the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. Others feared her power, viewing her as a threat to the natural order. Jake and Sarah found themselves walking a delicate line, trying to protect their daughter while also allowing her to fulfill what seemed to be her cosmic destiny. On Nova's 10th birthday, as representatives from across the galaxy gathered to celebrate, a new crisis emerged. A mysterious signal was detected coming from the edge of known space, a signal that seemed to be a response to Nova's unique energy signature. As the galactic community debated how to respond, Nova herself stepped forward, her young voice carrying a wisdom far beyond her years. "We've come so far," she said, her words broadcast to trillions of beings across countless worlds. "We've learned to understand each other, to see beyond our differences. But this is our next great challenge. Something out there is calling to us, and I think it's time we answered. Jake and Sarah exchanged a look, a mix of pride and trepidation in their eyes. Their journey had started with a diplomatic mission and an unlikely marriage. It had led to a transformation of galactic society, and now it seemed it would take them beyond the boundaries of known space. As preparations began for what would surely be the most ambitious expedition in galactic history, Jake couldn't help but marvel at the twists and turns of fate. He, a once ordinary human diplomat, stood hand in hand with his Zeraxian wife, their miraculous daughter before them, ready to lead the united species of the galaxy into a new frontier. The stars themselves seemed to twinkle with anticipation. Whatever lay beyond, new civilizations, cosmic wonders, or challenges yet unimagined, they would face it together. Not as humans or Zeraxians or any single species, but as a united galactic family. Nova's eyes sparkled with the light of distant stars as she gazed up at the night sky. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice filled with childlike excitement and ageless wisdom. Jake and Sarah nodded, their hearts swelling with love for their extraordinary daughter and the incredible journey that lay ahead. "Ready," they said in unison. And with that, the next chapter in the greatest adventure the galaxy had ever known began. The cosmos held its breath, waiting to see what marvels and mysteries the cosmic child and her family would uncover in the vast, uncharted reaches of space. The story of Jake, Sarah, and Nova, once a tale of unlikely love and diplomatic intrigue, had become the saga of an entire galaxy's evolution. And somewhere, in the great cosmic dance, the universe itself seemed to smile upon the boundless potential of understanding, unity, and love.